just because you have money in the bank doesn't mean you have money.
Yeah.
That's the first thing, because you can look at it and think, oh, wow, Mum, in all her careers, Mum, as you know, does the administration in our business. And
now she works for me doing admin
she
too.
She does, and be careful because she looks after all the money that I don't know where it is. Okay, so make sure you know where the bank accounts are. So Mum has often said this to me, oh, you know, we have a tax bill of X, and she's kind of sounded a little bit worried. Or in the next 3 months, you know, or in the next month, we've got to pay a VAT bill of this, or corporation tax, or whatever. And my answer is always the same. It doesn't matter what figure you tell me. Have we got the money?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you owe £1 million. If you have £2 million spare in the bank, £1 million, fantastic news.
Yeah.
So it's understanding what your consistent expenses are, what your investment expenses could be. And I'm talking about investment as in this year's goals, as in potential of bigger things, other things you wish to do in the future. But it's understanding that and accepting that you may not have it now, but you can begin a plan that begins that process. So money in the bank doesn't mean you have money is the first thing. Second thing, everyone needs to understand the difference between turnover and profit. Okay. Ultimately, there's something called velocity of money. Velocity of money. Velocity of money means that generally money is respent, and I believe this is the figure, but if not, it's very similar. The concept's the same. Money is respent 5 to 7 times. So, for example, if you can imagine when I was in my carpet and flooring business, you would pay me whatever £1,000 to supply and install some carpet at home. Okay. Well, out of that £1,000, ultimately, I've got to purchase the carpet. So I'm now purchasing the carpet. The carpet manufacturers now need to employ staff to make the carpet. They've got to buy raw product. That's got to come from somewhere, be delivered, etc. So many people are, without you spending that £1,000, lots of other people can't do their follow-up work. Okay. My fitters now can't do their work. Okay. They need petrol to get to the job. They need a vehicle that needs servicing. Okay. My point is money generally is respent 5 to 7 times. So out of that £1,000, I've got to purchase the materials. 1, I've got to pay the fitters to install the product. 2, okay. Then I'm left with a figure. Because I had retail premises and people that also worked for me that were non-income producing. Yeah. So our admin team weren't on sales. They were relying on us as the sales team to earn enough money that out of what's left to share with them. So, you know, you're looking at what's left rather than what comes in, which is completely different. That's why when we talk about cash flow, and I'd love if you have the time to talk about prices and price increases, etc., you know, you've got to look at your margins as well, because people think they're making a profit when they say, well, I took £1,000 into my business and I'm left with 100. That's not necessarily profit. How much are your phone bills? How much is the lighting? How much is the electricity? What about dilapidation in your building? Do you redecorate occasionally? Because even if someone says, well, I redecorate once every 10 years. Okay, well, if that costs you £5,000 to decorate, then that's £500 a year on average. That's £10 a week on average. So where do you actually allow and facilitate that in your thinking of, oh, actually, these are expenses? Or come the redecoration period, where are you going to find £10,000?
And that's what I was saying before about, it's funny where we started this episode saying I had no interest in cash flow and just creative work. And now in the first 6 months of Pickeroons, it was this new business. It's exciting. We're making videos. But now that Pickeroons is a full company and we're going to last a long, long time, it's those things you're teaching me of, yeah, actually, I need to think about, have we got money aside for when this happens in the future? It's not about next month. And next month, I'd like to make this promotional video for us. It's okay, but what about in a year's time if we need to take, well, like now, where we've taken a month for admin, as you said, non-income producing.
Yeah.
What if in 2 years' time we have an office?
Yes.
I don't want to where now I need an office and I go, well, that was never factored in. And where am I going to find that money from? Because now I need to get more.
But also, you see, sorry to interrupt you, whereas
that's all good.
It would be now where you'd potentially, you see, looking ahead is very difficult. You know, would you like an office?
No, at the moment.
Absolutely. But why would you in 2 years' time?
Because I think based on some of the things you're helping me with as the coach and the accountability of, you're helping me think of new, longer term, not passive, but closer to passive income through Pickeroons.
Okay.
So via that, okay, well, if I am going to go that route that you've helped me think about,
yes,
then maybe there will end up being someone else running it, which if there's someone else, that person might need an office. And if that person needs an office, it removes, it's these, when I say I'm lost for the words, you'll be able to help me here.
Let me just come in there if I may. Here's thinking, you see, at the moment, without confirming, looking ahead, you might need an office.
Yeah.
Okay. Now you have choices today. You don't have to wait to think, do I need an office? But the reality is you're so busy at the moment that maybe in your scheduling of your diary, you could put something in of future planning. Imagine if 2 hours a month, whether it's 1 hour a month, imagine if, we dissect our diary, which we've spoken about before.
In a way, I do have this. This is my sessions with you. You're helping me as my coach with that future planning.
Okay.
So that is in my diary.
In our future planning, you're, for example, mentioning, I may need an office. Okay. Why, as we know, is always the biggest word in the world.
Yeah.
Why? Well, because as you said, Dad, to create possible opportunities with whether passive income or whatever, it may be that we've got a few companies within that period. Remember, create the future is much better than wait for it. So all these things that then we sit down and we start planning out, we don't know how yet, but we plan out. The question could come in with an office is natural expenses. The world is changing. It's normal, but it's different. So actually, could people be working from home? So we don't need the expenses of an office. Yeah. So those are the type of things that with everything we always plan ahead, you should always say, why? Why do you need an office?
Yeah.
Well, the company could expand. Okay. Could they be working from home? But you know what? Let's look at the positions we may need. Okay. Yeah, they could be working. All this can change, but your plan at the beginning is a plan. You know what? In the positions that they could be doing, they could work from home. Okay. Well, you don't need to have office expenses. But imagine this to continue with a cash flow theme. Imagine if one of your accounts was potential office account.
It's funny you said that because I was thinking, shall I interrupt him or not? Because I was going to say, actually, what about this thing we're talking about, these accounts? And I'm going to take that another level, not potential office, potential growth expense account.
Right. So, but you could split that up. That's where I'm thinking.
Office, that could be staff.
Right. So I'd have 2 accounts.
No, 2 growth accounts? So I've got growth office, growth staff,
growth office, growth staff.
What about, because the way that I work, I like miscellaneous. What about growth miscellaneous?
Well, here's the thing, you see. I love a miscellaneous.
Yeah.
A miscellaneous is an account. And again, our listeners will be sitting there thinking, hang on, haven't I got to earn so much money?
I agree, £1 in each account.
That's exactly what I was going to say. What you've done, you've started something off. Imagine, ladies and gentlemen, going into Christmas thinking, I'd love to get lots of presents for the kids, the family, and Phil Berg particularly. Okay. But the budget is the budget. But imagine if you even turned around and said something like, these are the expenses I know are coming in. Then all of a sudden, a nice inquiry comes in, a new order comes in, and it's extra money. Now, it's different if you said, wow, I'm going to treat myself, okay? Or I'm actually going to be quite disciplined. I have the money I need at the moment, which it allows me to enjoy life as well, one holiday or whatever. I have the money I need at the moment. I'm going to put that into a miscellaneous account. Now, here's where also mentally it could feel good. So if you said, what did you call it? A general something office, something stuff. Right. So imagine you decided to now start creating growth accounts.
Yeah.
As you say, £1 in each. Our international friends, obviously with respecting your currency.
Yeah.
Okay. But imagine if you just did that. And you did. You are going to get a lot more inquiries this year. You've got people already coming to you and it's amazing. Okay. Imagine if you said, the current business level I had is giving me the lifestyle I want. So actually, all of a sudden, some things that come in, as well as you planning, but some things that come in are unexpected. Okay. You could then start to put this into the different growth accounts. And if you don't get an office at the time you thought that may be the route, you then have just simply spare money sitting there.
Yeah.
Choice.
But then again, that goes into the growth. if growth, I know I want to grow pickeroons.
Okay.
So if I make a growth account, this is what I'm thinking. If that growth account allows and I almost have a title, and it's like growth, office, salary,
absolutely.
office, new staff, investment.
Absolutely.
Or let's call it, investment.
Yep.
So that's the three things account. So that means that when anything with pickeroons, the way we plan, where's pickeroons going to go, anything that comes under those three. So if you said to me, if we did one of our exercises that we do, and we do your sessions, and you made me think, actually, I want to explore bringing someone in, I can go, well, that's the account that has those funds in, and I can look at that and I can say, okay, well, bringing someone in is going to cost X amount from that account, which then means that actually there's no office expense or there's no investment in that account. And with all the things where you're helping me, and I know we're going to cover in another episode about accountability, helping me where I'm looking at these multiple revenue streams that I'm doing at the moment, it's helping me think, which one is the priority?
Yes.
Which one does that go into? And if I go for that one, that means I can't do that over there. And right now, that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. As you say, right now, that's okay. It's no, guys, being successful isn't having more money. Being successful is being happy. And at the end of the day, you may not be as happy as you want fully at the moment, but are you on the journey? And if you are, then be as happy as you want, because you're where you're supposed to be on that journey. Okay. So do you know, I have an account called the I Don't Know account.
Yeah.
Do you know about that one?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, I like that. But it's actually called the I Don't Know account, because if you say, well, what's that one for? My answer will be,
don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, but that's what I was thinking about the I Don't Know account.
So we have numerous bank accounts. Some of them have got really, honestly, a very low money in it, but they're each allocated for something mentally. I mean, I want to go on holiday every year and feel like I'm not paying a penny for it.
Yeah.
Feel like it's not costing me any money. And by putting money aside as and where I can into that, it's almost like we pay for our holiday and there's still a little bit of money left in the account. It's a fantastic feeling, and it's a good discipline because it's being put aside for a purpose. And the I Don't Know account is just, well, we've just gained a client, put that money in the I Don't Know account.
Yeah.
Because we're building it up.
Love that.
Last thing you said before, actually, you talked about charging customers. I'm not talking about price range for a minute, but you talked about charging clients and doing things perhaps where, if you like, there should have been a charge. Be aware that, because I love the word choice, I would say about 7-8 weeks ago, I was invited to do an online presentation to a group of business people in Singapore. The presentation was about team development and leadership, which is something, as you know, one of the areas I specialize in. So I help a lot of companies with team development and their own leadership, how we lead other people to lead other people, et cetera, et cetera. It was from a friend of mine that invited me to speak at this event as a keynote speaker. And he made it clear that there would be a lot of opportunity. Now, I will say to our audience, beware of those false promises.
Yeah.
Okay, oh, there's lots of people there in the future. Yeah, absolutely.
Especially creatives. The creative classic one is, if you do this, we'll get you some more awareness and we'll get you some more publicity, but do it for free.
And it feels good at the time. I would say make your decision based on who is going to be in the audience, who you know is asking you, and where you are in your business career. You think of it as, people understand we need to invest financially to get a return. But people don't often think of, hang on a minute, I need to invest time-wise, but strategically. Anyway, from that event, it was a very good friend that we actually ran our Dream Coach program together. So I knew this gentleman wasn't taking a liberty, and I wasn't looking for anything further out of it. It was a pleasure to help him. I also hasten to add that I was already in Poland doing a week's work for a company in Poland. So I had to do this presentation because of the time difference at 6 a.m. in the morning.
I remember speaking to you either before it or just after it, actually.
It would have been after, because you're not available.
Maybe it was the night before.
Oh,
it was the night before when you were prepping.
Yeah. So 6 a.m. in the morning.
I'm not available at 6.
Okay. I'm doing this presentation from 6 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. I then literally run downstairs to the hotel reception, have some food in the restaurant for breakfast, and then I'm doing a whole day's training. That was a very, very hard day. I was in the airport 2 days later coming home from Poland, and I received a phone call from somebody that heard the 1.5 hour presentation, and they literally invited me to come and work with their company to help them exactly on team development and leadership to create more profit for them. Yet that was an event that I was very happy at daft o'clock in the morning to help a friend without thoughts of what's for me. So that's a choice. And then to finish this, a line I got given many, many years ago that I thought was brilliant. If you're going to do something for nothing, make sure you do it for something. So let me repeat that. If you're going to do something for nothing, make sure you do it for something. So if you're thinking, well, that sounds confusing, as you know, I'm a published author, as are you. So it may be that I'm very happy to come and do this presentation, but would it be acceptable, without imposing in the presentation or detracting from it, that I could offer everybody the opportunity at a discounted price or whatever to purchase my books? It may be that, could I please ask for the opportunity as a keynote speaker that if you would like to know or have me work at your company or at your event, then I'd like,
it's call to action.
It's a call to action, but you wouldn't want to be doing an event for somebody and then the final PowerPoint is about you and your product.
We've been to talks where they do that.
Oh my goodness, don't they get it wrong? So I think just make sure that if you're going to do something for nothing, make sure you do it for something. Now, the minimum would be, I feel good about it. Okay, I feel good. The topic is going to help. I know the audience is going to make a difference to them. Givers gain. There's nothing in it for me. As you ramp it up, very happy to do that. You don't have a budget, but would it be acceptable if I did this, as long as it doesn't detract from the presentation? And then obviously it ramps up to absolutely this is my fee, and we can make a difference.
Do you know something just to add to that? Because I took that learning from you, and especially the giver's gain, when I started the business. And do you remember I did a lot of presentations, and I've got one exactly like you said there, of that one presentation I did when I was taking all those copies of my book that had been printed a bit dark, not a bit off the colour, to give to a load of charities.
Yes.
And remember, I got the train to the wrong place.
Yes.
I was carrying this book, sweating around London, at this box of my books, and I was like, oh, do you know what? I'm late already. I'm going to leave it. And it wasn't a presentation, sorry. It's like a round table. So there's multiple people there consulting for all these different charities. And I ended up going, no, do you know what? For whatever reason, I was like, no, I'm going to get a taxi. I'll get there. I was all sweating. Turned out it was at Google's building.
Wow.
Went in there, left my book on the side, the copies of my book, gave them to these charities, had some great conversations. That one day, and without making this too long, so maybe I'll tell the full story another time, led to my first client of Picaroons. Ongoing work, which this was 2.5 years ago. I still work with the organization who trains all those charities, but now I work with them as opposed to just volunteering with them. Someone in Google's building walked past, saw my book, took a copy of my book, loved it and used it for a year. And then when they moved to Facebook and Facebook had a particular challenge, they brought me in. Do you remember? It was one of my 3 months after launching Picaroons, getting a LinkedIn from someone at Facebook saying, we want to work with you, was one of the maddest things that's ever happened to me. And I got my first client. That's where I met Barbara from Behind Bras. And I can trace that all to that one day. And that is so much work that really, having Facebook, having that first client, having this ongoing partnership with the organization, that all came from that one day. That's the positive side. Because there, once I saw the things that can come from putting yourself out there and doing those things, I was then doing too much of it. So as the business has grown, it was like, when and where do I invest that time? And a tip for our listeners, which we've spoken about this before recently, of I've started thinking about things as scorecards.
Nice.
So if you are going to do the giver's gain, as Dad said, if you're going to make those choices of when you do, if you're going to do something for nothing, do something make a scorecard. And this might sound a bit too regiment, but I think it just might help anyone who's felt like I have, of when do I stop volunteering my time?
Yes.
When do I stop seeing everything as a potential opportunity? And I've made a scorecard Or you can almost have like a tick box. So as you said then, it could be, is this for a friend? Tick. Is this for a audience of plus 50? Because if you would say, do you know what, every time I present to plus 50, for every 50 people in the audience, I find one client. Is it for a plus 50 audience? Tick. And if you come up with those, here are the things that will, so for me now, living in Portugal, quite an easy one is, do I have to pay for a flight there?
Yeah.
Or can I do it over Zoom?
Yep.
Because if someone's expecting me to pay for my own flight to come back to the UK to present for free, it's creating those very clear scorecards. That's advice that, from what I've found, it helps you know what to pursue and what not to when you feel like there's 1,000 options, or when do you stop. So that might be a tip that helps people. If you can say, right, once the scorecard is 3+, because it might be for a friend, but it might be for an audience of 5 people. They might expect me to fly over from the UK, pay for my own flights. So actually, in that case, I might say, look, I'm really sorry, but not. So it's almost, you think about it in whatever by the way, I'm not saying that if you are a friend and you have an audience of 50+, I will come and speak at your event for free. It's more, come up with what your scorecard is, and then that will help you with when and where to go for those. As Dad said, do something for nothings. But I think, and I'm speaking for Dad here, that doesn't mean it was a failure if you didn't get a lead off it.
Absolutely.
It's just knowing with your time, when and where do you go? Because otherwise we could be doing 20 free talks a day every day.
Look, we talk about managing expectations. There's managing expectations of our audience and our clients, but we have to actually manage our expectations. And therein lies the problem, that we don't have expectations. How many of our listeners are sitting here saying, oh, we love helping people, we love making a difference? And I'm going to say this with a little bit of possibly aggressive passion, ladies and gentlemen. You can love helping people all you like. You can love making a difference to others. What about you? I helped 20 people become rich today, darling, but we've gone bankrupt, but it felt good. So you have to take that into account. So a couple of things again I wrote down. Days come, days go. Moments come, moments pass. Sometimes it's not easy trying to, if you like, get out of something. Okay. That's not viable for me. It's not all about the money, but it's just not viable for me. Okay. Now, at that moment, that's in the moment. You think, oh, I don't feel good about that. That day will be gone the next day. Let's reverse that. You do something of unbelievable value. Because again, you and I are both stressing, we are not, ladies and gentlemen, saying to people, don't help somebody. We are not saying don't do something for nothing. That's not what we're saying. What we are saying is don't get mugged.
Yeah.
Do you know how many people have got a budget, but because we agreed to do it for nothing, they're licking their lips? And yet they'll pay another speaker a lot of money because they asked for it.
Yeah.
As classic sales, people don't ask for the order. So I'm often saying to people that you've got to make sure that you understand this next point. If you were taken for a liberty a little bit, even if they didn't do it on purpose, after an amazing presentation, 2 months, 3 months later, nobody is saying, oh my goodness, James Berg was amazing, or Phil Berg was amazing, and we got them for nothing. It's completely forgotten.
Yeah.
So just pick and choose where and when. But remember to be paid what you deserve. If I'm making somebody £50,000, why shouldn't profit?
Yeah.
Why shouldn't I be paid a few £1,000s? I've made companies over £1 million. A £50,000 fee? That they should quadruple that.
Yeah.
So it's all about return on investment. And if I may just give one last one. We talk about cost price. And I loved your analogy there of, oh, well, hang on a minute, I've got to fly over and perhaps it's an overnight stay or taxi from the airport.
You're not going to pick me up?
Pardon?
You're not going to pick me up?
No. I'll take you back to the airport, but bringing you home, no. This was a fantastic piece of advice by a very wise elderly gentleman that was one of my first teachers in business. And he always said to me, remember, cost price is cost plus 10%. In other words, if you think that's your expenses, if it costs you to fly over from Portugal and the taxi and food and blah, blah, blah. So let's say you say, well, that's £150. Yes, I know. But what about your lighting? What about your phone bills? What about your general living expenses that you've still got to pay? So actually cost is cost plus 10. So if you charge somebody and say, look, it's costing me £500, so I'll charge you £500. That's actually costing you money.
So, Dad, thanks for all your advice. Thanks for all the tips in this episode. I think there's one more thing that's very, very useful that you taught me. And it was about having specific figures in mind and a process. I love a process, and I think this will really benefit the audience to be able to take away. And it's knowing what I need to earn in a year.
Yep.
And let's say it was to be 60,000 is what I know I need to earn this year.
Okay.
Can you explain, I don't know the name of this process, if you've given it a name
No,
even,
I haven't.
This process you have which helps someone then plan that year ahead?
Okay. So the first thing, obviously, we rewind very quickly back to why is 60,000 60,000? Now, I remember I was helping a company increase their sales. Someone had seen me keynote speak at an event, asked me to come and work with his company and his sales team. I met them for the first time, and I actually said to the owner, so to achieve success between us, what outcome are you expecting from this relationship? So he said, well, in the next 12 months, he said, we would like to increase our profit by 5%. Because remember the difference in profit and turnover. We'd like to increase our profit by 5%. So I said, okay. I said, would 10% be good for you? He said, well, that would be amazing. So I said, okay, so why did you say 5%? So he said, well, because that's better than last year. So is 1%. I said, no, good point. And this is a really successful guy that didn't have a clue, just thought he naturally had to increase by 5%. So the first thing I'd ever say to anybody is understand what you truly want. Is it what you want? That's the first thing. Secondly, I would encourage people that set goals to set profit goals and then understand what turnover do they need to achieve that profit. Because after all, I always joke that I used to spend turnover and wonder why I had no money left. So actually, you can only spend out of profit. So you've already decided, let's use turnover in this instance, that a turnover of £60,000, or for our international friends, your equivalent, or any of you actually, you'll put your figure on there. So in your case, it's £60,000 turnover gives you the profit you require. We've agreed that, we've decided. So how many referrals, how many inquiries do you need to receive? Because that's what you're asking me. It's okay saying, well, I want to earn £60,000 this year. Where? How? What can you do proactively to make that happen rather than just turn around and say, well, we earned £55,000 last year, so just a little bit more effort. That's not a plan. That's too reliant upon other things. So you're going to sit there and say, right, well, we need to earn £60,000 turnover. Therefore, we need to understand what our average value order is. And an average value order is at the end of 12-month period, if you like turned over £500,000 last year, turned over, and you wrote out 500 invoices, then that's an average value order of £1,000. So you know your average value order is £1,000. So in this case, let's say your average value order is £3,000. So straight away, if you want to earn £60,000 in turnover, which you know on your normal margins, that gives you the profit you need. Your average value order is £3,000. You now need 20 orders, 20 invoices to be able to write out in the next 12 months. Obviously, some of you will be hundreds per month. Some of you, it depends on the number. So in this case, we want £60,000 worth of business in the next 12 months. Our average value order is £3,000. So we need to complete 20 new orders. If we then turned around and said our conversion rate is 40%, and for those of you who have 40% or less, you need to call James and myself in, as we will help you make a lot more profit than that. But we'll help you convert more, but higher than that, should I say. Couldn't get my words out there. So I now know that my conversion rate in history has been 40%. So I now need to receive 50 inquiries, 50. So let me summarize. If I receive 50 inquiries and nothing changes, My conversion is generally 40%. That will give me 20 orders, 20 invoices to write out. My average value order is £3,000. That becomes my £60,000 turnover. So now what we've just created in that process you've asked me to share is I know what I need to earn, but now I understand how many orders, if you like, orders and inquiries I need to receive. Now, for sure, you could call someone like us in and we could get that, if you like, conversion up from 40%, let's say, to 80%. Well, now you only need 25 inquiries instead of 50 inquiries. So we could then help you become more strategic on where and how you're doing your business. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, it's great. Thank you.
Pleasure.